He was born of a virgin, his birth marked by a star. A tyrant, warned by a prophecy, tried to kill him as an infant. He grew up among humble shepherds, only to emerge as a great teacher who performed miracles, healed the sick, and was resurrected after his death. His name was Krishna. If that story sounds shockingly familiar, it's because it is. For 2,000 years, the story of Jesus of Nazareth has been presented as a unique event in human history, a singular divine intervention. But what if it wasn't? What if the story of the Christian Savior is an echo of a song first sung centuries earlier, in a different land, in a different language? In this video, we are not talking about faith, but about history, the history of ideas. We will follow the secret route that connects the ancient epic of Krishna to the Gospels of Christ, and explore the unsettling evidence that the origins of the Jesus story are far older and far more Eastern than we have been led to believe. If you are ready to hear the story behind the story, subscribe now and join us on this journey. The parallels begin at the very moment of creation. In the Hindu tradition, the birth of Krishna is a divine event. His mother, Devaki, is a virtuous princess. A heavenly voice from the sky proclaims to her tyrannical brother, the king Kansa, that the eighth son of Devaki will be his destroyer. Consumed by fear, Kansa imprisons Devaki and her husband, murdering each of their children at birth. But when the eighth child, Krishna, is born, a miracle occurs. The prison guards fall into a deep sleep. The chains fall away and the doors swing open. His father secretly carries a divine infant across the Yamuna River, swapping him with the daughter of a humble herdsman, Nanda, and his wife, Yashoda. Krishna is thus saved and grows up in the rustic village of Vrindavan. Among cowherds and milkmaids, his true identity is secret. Now, let us travel west, centuries later, to the land of Judea. A young woman, the Virgin Mary, is told by an angel that she will bear the Son of God. His birth is marked by a star in the east. The local tyrant, King Herod, is warned by wise men from the east about the birth of a new king of the Jews. Consumed by fear, Herod orders the massacre of the innocents, the slaughter of all male infants in Bethlehem, in an attempt to kill the prophesied child. But the Holy Family, warned in a dream, flees to Egypt, saving Jesus. He, too, escapes the tyrant and lives a humble, hidden life before his ministry begins. The structure is identical: a divine birth, a prophecy, a paranoid tyrant who seeks to kill the child, and a miraculous escape that leads to a humble upbringing. Coincidence? Or the first clue that we are reading two versions of the same story? As both figures emerge from their hidden childhoods, the parallels only intensify. Their ministries are defined by their compassion for the common people and their ability to bend the laws of reality. Krishna's life is filled with miracles that demonstrate his divine nature. As a young man, he playfully steals butter. As a protector, he famously lifts the entire Govardhan hill with his little finger, holding it up like an umbrella for 7 days to shelter his village from the torrential wrath of the storm god, Indra. He battles demons, brings the dead back to life, and multiplies a single grain of rice to feed a crowd of sages. His core teachings are delivered on the battlefield to his beloved disciple, the warrior Arjuna. This dialogue becomes a Bhagavad Gita, the Song of God, a profound philosophical text about duty, action, and the path to spiritual liberation. Now look at the life of Jesus. He, too, demonstrates his divine power over nature, calming a storm with command and walking upon the water of the Sea of Galilee. He heals the lepers and the blind. He exorcises demons, and he resurrects his friend Lazarus from the tomb. He miraculously feeds a multitude of 5,000 people with just 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. And he delivers his core teachings to his disciples in the famous Sermon on the Mount, a revolutionary guide to ethics, prayer, and spiritual living. Both are divine miracle workers. Both are profound spiritual teachers. Both deliver a message of love and a path to a higher reality. The details change: a mountain versus a storm, a battlefield versus a sermon. But the essence of the narrative remains shockingly consistent. So, how is this possible? How could these stories from 2 different worlds be so alike? The answer is not magic. It is commerce. The ancient world was far more connected than we imagine. For centuries before the birth of Christ, the Silk Road and other trade routes were a bustling superhighway not just for silk and spices, but for ideas, philosophies, and stories. The influence of Indian thought on the West is a documented fact. The Greek philosopher Pythagoras, in the 6th century BC, is believed to have traveled to India. His teachings on reincarnation and the transmigration of the soul are concepts that were fundamental to Hinduism long before they appeared in Greece. Later, the conquest of Alexander the Great in the 4th century BC shattered the boundaries between East and West. He marched all the way to India, creating a Hellenistic empire where Greek and Indian culture mingled freely. Buddhist missionaries traveled west, and Greek art began to influence the depiction of the Buddha. The key to our mystery may lie in cosmopolitan centers like Alexandria, Egypt. In the centuries leading up to the birth of Christianity, Alexandria was the intellectual capital of the world. Its great library was a melting pot. In its markets and academies, Jewish mystics, Gnostic philosophers, Egyptian priests, and traders from India would have met, debated, and exchanged stories. It was in this fertile, syncretic environment that many of the ideas that would form a bedrock of Christianity first took root. It is not hard to imagine the powerful and compelling story of Krishna, the divine child, the miracle worker, the savior, being told and retold in these circles, its themes and narrative beats slowly being absorbed into collective spiritual consciousness of the Mediterranean world. The final chapters of both their lives seal the parallel. Both stories end not in a simple death, but in a transcendent departure that confirms their divine status. Krishna's end is poignant and strange. Decades after his great deeds, while meditating in a forest, a hunter named Jar mistakes his partially visible foot for a deer and shoots a single arrow. The arrow strikes Krishna in his heel, his one mortal vulnerability, a detail that echoes the Greek hero Achilles. His death is not a defeat, but a fulfillment of a curse, a conscious decision to leave his physical body. After he departs, his followers witness his spirit ascending to his eternal, spiritual realm, Goloka, a paradise of light and bliss. Jesus' death is the centerpiece of his own story. He is crucified by the Roman authorities, a death foretold by the prophets. It is an act of ultimate sacrifice, but the tomb cannot hold him. 3 days later, he is resurrected, appearing to his disciples to give them their final instructions. He then leads them to a mountain where, before their very eyes, he ascends into the heavens to sit at the right hand of God. Again, the details differ, an arrow versus a cross, but the core structure is the same. A fated, meaningful death that is not a true end, followed by a glorious, witness ascension into a heavenly realm, proving their victory over mortality. So we are left with a question that strikes at the heart of history and faith. Are these astonishing similarities simply a coincidence? Are they proof of a collective unconscious, a universal human archetype of the divine savior that emerges naturally in different cultures, as scholars like Carl Jung might suggest? Or is the evidence of a historical influence too strong to ignore? Did the story of Krishna, carried across deserts and seas on the tongues of merchants and mystics, plant a seed in the fertile soil of the ancient Near East? A seed that would later blossom into a new religion, with a new face and a new name, but with the same ancient DNA. Perhaps the story of Jesus is not a unique, singular event, but a powerful retelling, a Western adaptation of an Eastern epic. This does not necessarily diminish its spiritual truth for believers. It simply recontextualizes it, suggesting that the divine river of story from which people drink has many sources, and one of its oldest, deepest, and most forgotten springs may lie not in Galilee, but on the banks of the river Ganges.